Therapists of Reddit. What is the number one thing parents did to screw up their kids so they had to seek help in adulthood? Behavioral therapist here. Catch your kids being good. Parents are always telling kids what they did wrong. You have to balance it out by telling them what they are doing right. Yes, this goes for educators too. Make sure kids don't end up being the bad kids because all you do is pick up on their disruptive behavior. Teaching them that failure is unacceptable, a sign of laziness, or that they just didn't want it enough. It results in people who can't take no for an answer or stay at terrible situations because that's what they've chosen, so they have to make it work. Therapist here. LMFT. Probably the biggest and most common frick up I see is parents shaming their child for having their own identity and personal interests separate from the parent's. Just support your kid and don't try to force them to be someone they're not. Don't call them weird or tell them their likes are stupid. Show interest in the things they like and let them teach you about those things. Also, don't take it personally if your child is not an exact replica of you. Kids are human, and like all humans, despite all our similarities, there are vast differences as well. You can learn to celebrate and value those differences, or everyone can be miserable. Made the child take care of the parent's emotions. It's supposed to be the other way around. You control your sadness, anger, disappointment. Don't make your kid anticipate your emotional response and work to regulate you. Therapist here also. I see a number of teens, and some of the things I have noticed in the population that really does a number on them are parents failing to keep their promises and consistently repeating the promises and never fulfill them. When your child does something wrong, don't sweep it under the carpet. Be passive aggressive or stonewalling. Not trusting them enough. Always in helicopter mode. Not validating their feelings. Hey, it is okay you are angry. Anger is an emotion. Your kids have the right to feel that. This also goes for not encouraging them to discuss their emotions. Not apologizing when you should. You are a human as much as your child, irrespective of how old he or she is. When you are in the wrong, say sorry and talk about what you can do differently next time. You are setting a positive model for your child. Please remember, lack of communication. I cannot even emphasize enough how many teens I see or clients in general lack communication skills. Social worker for 25 years. Inconsistencies. Poor kiddo never knows how to react because they never get a consistent response. What's more terrifying than a father who is always angry is a father who is sometimes angry and you never know when. Ignoring a child's emotional life by scolding them for having one or telling them to suck it up. It's remarkable the amount of clients I see that need to learn that having feelings is okay and not a cause for alarm or punishment. Constant invalidation. You shouldn't feel sad. You were being too hyper and that is why you are being punished. Seems innocent enough even without context. Shouldn't feel sad is a problematic statement though. People feel what they feel no matter the context. So you need to talk to your child. Why are you sad? Is it because you are being punished? Timeout won't last forever. You only have 1 minute left. I still love you blah blah blah. Whatever works for your family dynamic. But children need to be able to appropriately label their feelings from a young age. I am sad because I didn't get what I wanted. I can do better in the future and maybe get what I want. Boom. I'm out of a job. Hint, there are many parents who cannot do this, and they cannot teach their children to do it either. I used to work as a counselor. The thing that stood out the most to me was the number of people, usually women and the oldest female sibling, who were saddled with the leftover parenting duties the actual parent couldn't handle. Whether it was babysitting all the time, being the parent's shoulder to cry on, being responsible for all of the housework, dealing with the financial burden of raising a family. This led to wonderful, smart young women who were so used to caring for everyone else, being the rock that their teenage years' childhoods were essentially non-existent and their adult relationships suffered as a result. From memory it's called parentification, and it is incredibly unfair young people find themselves in this type of situation. I was the oldest of 4. There was more, but the hardest part about parentification is also feeling unseen or the idea that your needs can get taken care of later after everyone else's, and guess what? Later never comes. It'll get buried, but I'm a psychologist and my answer is shame. Making them feel ashamed as a disciplinary technique is one of those things that can blow up a minor issue into something that really sticks with you. Worse still when it's concerning puberty and biological processes. Worse even still when it's concerning things the child can't help. Therapist here. Not being emotionally available to the child. The child needs love, recognition and the feeling of security. Even good parents who are unable to be emotional available or show feelings can negatively impact the child. Not only will the child not have their feelings responded to or reciprocated, leading to more dysfunctional coping mechanisms, they won't have the blueprint of how to soothe themselves or their own children in time, perpetuating the experience. Clinical psychologist here. Failing to show proper range of different levels of emotions. A lot of parents only show their emotions when they explode or flow over with emotions. I see a lot of patients who only saw outburst, 10 out of 10, or total avoidance of emotions, 0 out of 10, but they never saw their parents be sad or angry on a level 4 or 6, basically show anger or fear in a normal way. Actual children's therapist here. I had a client's parents drop services because they had gotten an intro to psychology book and the client was already 7. It's too late for them, it's past their critical development period. Parents asking where the 20% is when you got 80%, like never being good enough. My therapist has been making me realize my dad and stepmom don't validate my emotions and has been trying to teach them how to. It's crazy because I never really noticed it before really. If I'd get upset about something my dad would always be like, don't get upset or you don't need to cry, stuff like that. I would highly recommend the book Running on Empty. It's about all the stuff that was supposed to happen that didn't. I had the same feeling, like, oh, I had no idea where anything was missing. I wish more attention would be paid to emotional neglect. Teacher here. My best advice is only have kids if you want kids. If you treat your kids poorly, doesn't matter the reason, they learn poor treatment. Treat your kids like you love them. Not believe or support a child who has experienced physical abuse, debauchery or blamed the child for their experience, or any other personal trauma. Really, divorced parents who badmouth the other parent in front of the child are essentially telling the child that 50% of the child is hated. I'm a family therapist, and scapegoating is what I see as the most long-lasting for any kid. Imagine being in a family, and everyone is essentially doing similar things you're doing, but you are 100% blamed for the dysfunction. It makes kids feel worthless, and have a long-lasting complex of not being good enough as they essentially try to appease parents that just won't ever see their value. Not a therapist but speaking from experience. If you ignore the signs of your child's obvious neurological cognitive disorders because you don't want to have to change your own daily routine to accommodate for your child's needs and or because you don't want to be seen as those parents with a special kid, then congratulations. You didn't have to be the parents with the special kid. Now you have to be the parents with a special adult who still lives in your house and will require daily care for the rest of their life for conditions you failed to treat in the formative years. Thank you and have a nice day. My mom was a teacher and there was a little girl with developmental problems in the class. She was non-verbal. They refused to let their daughter learn sign language because they thought it would make her look retarded. Instead they made her wear a talk box around her neck and she would push the buttons to say I need bathroom. Pretty despicable. Not a therapist but close friends foster children. Their mum had 2 kids, boy 1 and girl 3. She didn't feed them or clean them at all. So when they came to my friend's family, they would always gorge on food and eat anything and everything that came their way because they were never sure about where and when their next meal was going to come from. One time, we caught the boy sneaking around the kitchen making himself a bowl of cereal without anyone around because he didn't want anyone else to share it. It's extremely sad to see because they're such sweet kids but become feral around food. Don't freaking discourage the use of medicine to fix mental health issues for frick's sake. Frick you mom. Holy crap. Yes, I've been going to therapy for 5 or 6 years and my mom keeps getting mad because the grounding techniques my therapist gives me for anxiety attacks don't cure my anxiety. The doctor recommended medication and she said no, BC therapy apparently solves all mental health problems. Emotionally invalidating your children. Example. Child comes running up to mummy screaming with a minor cut. Child, it hurts. Parent: no it doesn't. You're okay. It's just small. Keep playing. Yes, the cut is small and the kid is okay, but that wasn't the point. The child was trying to tell you something important to them and you told them it wasn't real. This enforces the idea that you won't listen, and eventually that child becomes the angry sullen teen who screams the same. Psychologist here. The one I've seen causing the most long-term damage is addiction, especially alcoholism, because it's legal, acceptable, and people were expected to drink at least socially. The damage, sometimes, begin during the formation in the womb and goes until death. Alcoholic parents raise kids that are insecure either for lack of parental support or due to the instability of their parents or environment, have low self-esteem, either because they were humiliated over and over by drunk parents or due to the feeling of lacking the power to help the parents, emotional dullness, being a control freak due to taking care of a drunk adults or neglected siblings. The list is huge. It's 2020 and people still don't treat alcohol with the scrutiny we should. It's by and large the drug that most caused damage to the human race so far. Not a therapist, but with the amount of therapy I've been through I should be by now. 1. Neglect. I was the kid that wore the same clothes for months, unwashed, sleeping in pea-soaked sheets, with fleas, going hungry, and surprisingly, I have worked hard for years to overcome super low self-esteem and addiction issues, food hoarding and other self-preserving behaviors as well. 2. Active and repetitive mental, physical, emotional abuse. Do I need to explain this? 3. Lack of emotional expression. For example, when a kid gets hurt and a parent says, "You're fine, don't be such a p," or completely invalidating emotions. If a kid says "I'm sad" and the parent says, "You have nothing to be sad about," it just sets up the idea that what you're feeling isn't right or real or valid, compounded by deciding sharing your internal experience isn't worth it anymore. This one really messed me up a lot. Took years to even be able to label my emotions, let alone tell someone else about them. Therapist here. The most common issue I come across is enabling children. Some parents have the ability to actually make excuses or reasons for every challenging behavior and place blame on other people. They are more interested in being seen as friends with their kids than actually parenting and seeing that their children are learning, making mistakes. It creates a type of child that is a lazy perfectionist, unwilling to be accountable or try anything outside of their comfort zone. I fear adulthood for these kids. Psychologist here. Bringing an abusive new partner into the child or teen's life and then choosing the partner over the kids. Second place, not repairing by apologizing when you made mistakes as a parent. You have been spotted by the money pigeon. Comment gimme gimme and he will bless you with good fortune. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.